Alright, we finally made it. And although it's not super technically difficult, it is at the end of the run and therefore can hold a certain amount of nerves, which can make things a little bit more difficult than otherwise it would seem. But if we go into this with the proper prerequisite knowledge, then we should be able to do fast things. So let's get started. Also, if I sound like a really weird alien man right now, my nose is like blocked at the moment. Australia had one day of cold weather and then, you know, this is what happens. Welcome to peak human form. Let's just get into it. Once you've skipped all the cutscenes and made your way to Moon Kingdom, Cappy will try to talk to you. Oh my god, this is the final kingdom in the game. Just mash through that bad boy. And as soon as you gain control of Mario, begin a roll. And roll boost slightly forward and to the left. And roll boost 3 times. Then begin a triple jump. During the second jump, you are going to want to vector Mario slightly towards the left. You don't want to overshoot these vectors here on Moon Kingdom. Because of the low grav environment, if you vector too much, you have the tendency of overshooting them, which can cause you to actually not go as far forward as you want to go. So we're just doing small vectors for the second jump of the triple, and then for the final jump in the triple, you want to curve to just a little bit less than a 45-degree angle towards the right, and then about halfway through the jump, you're going to stop the vector, and you're going to hold directly forward on your analog stick. This is going to stop you from overshooting the vector and not making it as far forward, as I said before. And then once you get close enough to the platform, I mean, if you are close enough, you can just dive. But if not, cap, dive, and dive. Then begin roll boosting forward. Once you get to the bridge, long jump over the moon snake, roll up the hill, long jump onto the next platform, begin roll boosting towards the first rocket flower, and throw a Cappy to capture it, or I guess grab it. And as soon as you throw a Cappy towards the first rocket flower, you can begin moving towards the second one. And then as soon as you get Cappy back, instantly throw Cappy towards the second rocket flower and shake to home into it. And this will usually guarantee both rocket flowers. But if you're just starting out with the game, getting both of these rocket flowers as well as dealing with rocket flower momentum in general can be a little bit too much. Like, it is a sudden increase in acceleration, so it can be a little bit hard to control Mario if you're not used to that. So if you can only grab one rocket flower, it's fine. Instead of running with rocket flower speed, once you reach the floor below, what you can do is just roll boost towards the back end of the kingdom and then just run up to the Sphinx. This is obviously going to be a little bit slower because you're not maintaining fast momentum, but it is a backup that can be done. But anyway, if you do manage to get both the rocket flowers, you can jump off this little ramp and do a vector, then just run around the corner and jump up in the air. And then once you're over the Sphinx, you can throw out Cappy to kill your momentum. While this is being showed off here, I should note this kind of movement that Tyron's doing with the rocket flower speed, I wouldn't personally expect anybody just starting out the game to be able to pull off. Dealing with a lot of this rocket flower momentum, as said before, it requires a lot of practice. So if you're just getting started, you don't need to expect to do this. This is probably the kind of movement you would expect from somebody that has a little bit more practice in Moon Kingdom, and not necessarily somebody who's just picking up the game for the first time. But anyway, with that word of warning out of the way, once you're at the top of the Sphinx, you want to ground pound on its head directly up in the air, and then throw out and hold Cappy towards the wall in front of you, and then push Mario forward with your left analog stick into the hat. Do not dive into the hat, as falling into the hat like this will get you more height than diving into the hat. Then once you bounce off the hat, you want to send Mario towards the left, and then if you notice here on the wall, there is a slight indication of an L. Where you want to be aiming as Mario is more or less directly in the center of this L. And then what you can do is throw out Cappy once you're in the right spot to cap stall against the wall. This will stop you from over or undershooting it. Then as soon as you can, wall jump off the wall and then hold left on the analog stick. If you've held the right angle and you've wall jumped off the right spot, you should then get a second wall jump. And then once you've done that, you can cap throw and dive up top. And congratulations, you've just done Moon Cave Skip. This is one of the biggest time saves in the any % run. It saves about 2 minutes compared to doing the entirety of Moon Cave. And luckily for us, it's not all that difficult with a little bit of practice. Then once you're up top and you've planted your feet firmly on the ground, backflip and then cap dive and dive backwards. And then dive onto the bridge and begin roll boosting towards the chapel. I say feet planted firmly on the floor once you've done Moon Cave Skip, because this game has a weird tendency in this spot to not reset your cap bounce for whatever reason. It just has this way of being an absolute pain in the butt, if you will. So if you want to play it safe, which I imagine most people do on pace runs, make sure you've definitely landed on the floor and your cap bounce is definitely reset, and then go for gold. Then once you're in the chapel, begin roll boosting forwards, then begin throwing Cappy at the big door, skip the cutscene, begin roll boosting forward, skip the cutscene, and then jump and dive forward and throw Cappy at the hat Bowser has thrown at you. Run around it, try and hold Cappy at the hat to, grab it, similar to in Cloud Kingdom. Then run around it, long jump towards Bowser, and then once you're close, let go to get the cap to return to you. Jump up in the air, and then once you've grabbed the hat, dive into Bowser and begin shaking to punch him, similar to Cloud Kingdom. Jump over his tail swing, and then begin shaking again to knock him into the wall. This fight is, more or less the same as Cloud Kingdom, except obviously there's this cycle here in the middle where you need to jump over the fire that Bowser is throwing. A recommendation here is once you've gotten Bowser in a position, stay away from the edges of his semicircle, if you will. If you get too close to the edge, what he will do is jump up in place and rotate himself to face you. And that obviously loses time because he's going to restart his fire nonsense. So just pick a spot in the middle, just stay there, don't do anything crazy. And then once he makes his way to the edges again, just get yourself a little bit closer and prepare for the next cycle. Then of course, once he sends the hats hurtling towards you, throw Cappy at the first fake one, then throw Cappy at the real one. And same as before, throw out whole Cappy, long jump towards, shake and get the cap to return to you, jump and dive towards Bowser, begin shaking. This time, he's gonna swing his tail 2 times because it's the second phase of the fight. So jump twice, then punch him again, and do the exact same thing for a 3rd time. Wait to cycle out, get closer. This time he's going to throw out 2 different sets of fakes, then throw Cappy at the real one, and just go about the motions the exact same, except this time he's obviously going to swing his tail 3 times because it's the 3rd phase of the fight. Don't be like me and forget how to count. Then, instead of being able to punch him into the wall straight away, he's going to block an extra time and swing his tail an extra time because it's the final phase of the fight. This is a pretty standard Nintendo thing to do. Jump over it the last time, begin punching him, and then skip the cutscene. You'll then instantly regain control of Mario, begin roll boosting and roll boost 3 times, then skip the cutscene again, and then begin mashing the jump button. Mario is in a pseudo, sleep state similar to the beginning of the game and the beginning of Lost Kingdom here. So if you begin to mash the jump button during this, blacked out screen, you will be able to wake Mario up before you even see him. Then just dive forward and begin roll boosting towards Bowser. Roll down the hill. Don't roll boost until you get towards the end because rolling down hills is faster than roll boosting off them. And then throw Cappy at Bowser to capture him and skip the cutscene. And now we're in the escape sequence. This is it, gamer. You getting excited yet? Run forward and then begin a double jump. And then at the peak of your double jump, swipe with a Y or X button to get a little bit extra height and make your way on top of these blocks. Then jump and shake to shoot a fireball, both to begin damaging the wall in the distance and to hover in the air long enough to get on top of this block. Then once you land, shake again to break the next wall. And then just begin swiping the following walls. And then what you're going to want to do during this section is maintain as straight of a line as you possibly can along this line on the floor. It's optimal. This is going to sound ridiculous, but I mean, hey, you're learning the game. You might as well learn how to go fast right from the get-go, right? Running in a straight line here, this may shock you, is fast. Running around in circles, going whatever which way but loose, is not fast. You waste time doing that. So just run in a straight line. Anyway, once you've made your way towards the end and you're up on this final platform here, begin a triple jump sequence and triple jump off this block. And then you can just jump up here with the triple, but what you can also do is either swipe if you're not feeling confident, or you can shake while aiming towards the rock to get a fireball to do a little bit of damage if you so desire. But other than that, run towards this corner here and then begin swiping. The bridge will fall. Then just curve around, jump up in the air, and make your way towards the pipe in the distance. And then we're just going to make our way through this 2D section. We're not going to do anything fancy. If you want a little bit of extra knowledge here, you think this is maybe a bit too slow, you can hold the Y, or I believe the X button even, to sprint as Bowser in 2D. Running in 2D is kind of annoying when you're first getting used to it, but just in case you care, there you go. Break this bottom block, then jump out from it and jump on top of this block. Then just jump up here, and then follow it through using the Y or X button. Break the blocks you need to break, and then once you get to this section, you can jump up in the air, break the first block, jump up in the air, break the next block, and then you're basically just creating your own little staircase here to then make your way up here, break this final block, then jump up to the last step, jump up, break the one above you, then jump up and shoot a fireball to break one of the adjacent ones, and then, you know, jump up, jump back into 3D, etc., etc. Then for this final section, there is a particular way you can do this so that you ensure that you don't have to do any extra swipes or anything like that. So as soon as you regain control as 3D Bowser, jump up in the air and more or less while holding directly forward, shake once you're over these blocks, of course. Then once you land, jump, shake again, jump off this block, shake again, jump off this block, shake again. Once you land, you can either shake or swipe, then straight away jump, shake. Once you land, you can kind of avoid this block here on the floor if you want to, then jump and shake. Then once you land, just begin shaking, and then head towards either the left or right-hand corner once you hit this final wall. This is so that a rock doesn't fall from the sky and deal damage to you. They still can deal damage to you in these corners, but it's less likely than if you were to stand anywhere else. And just begin swiping. All right, this is it. This is Pillar Room. As soon as you gain control of Mario, hold up left and aim towards the first pillar on the right. Then you're going to do a sequence of jumps and shakes while aiming towards it. You can adjust your camera here as well if you feel like that can help you. I used to do this in the beginning, so it definitely holds some merit. You just want to get as many shots off on the first one as you can. Getting good pillar shots is extremely difficult and takes a lot and a lot and a lot of practice to get good at them and get them consistently. So if you don't happen to get enough shots to break the first pillar, don't worry, just head towards the first pillar on the left-hand side instead. We're going to do a full circuit around. Jumping up, getting as many fireballs off as you can, then once you're close enough, just begin swiping. Then once you've broken the pillar, head towards the next one, jumping and shaking to avoid any rocks on the floor, but still being able to get some fireballs off towards the pillar. Then swipe any remaining hits, then head towards the third pillar. Once again, jumping and shooting out fireballs, getting as many hits off as you can. Then get any remaining fireballs to hit the last pillar that you can. Trying to avoid any of these, I guess more bluer squares, as, you know, as you can notice, they do begin to fall. Then once the final pillar has fallen down, head towards the center and begin breaking the center moon rock. It should be noted here, just so that you know this as soon as possible, if you shoot a fireball towards the center, or you try to swipe in the air while you're heading towards the center area as the final pillar is falling, what can happen is you can actually end up spawning in this weird invisible wall, which will make it so that you cannot get onto the center area at all. You essentially lock yourself out of finishing the game. And the only way to progress is to jump off the edge and restart the escape sequence, which at this point is probably in the neighborhood of a 2-minute time loss. This is one of those times where being patient can actually be fast. But anyway, while you're up on the center area and you are breaking the moon rock, stay on the corner of the cube. This will once again make it so that any falling rocks do not deal any damage to you, as they will never spawn in the corners. Then once you've broken open the moon rock, wait for the tiny little camera animation, and then jump into the pillar, hold forward, and then as soon as the screen goes blurry, split, and that's it. You've beaten Super Mario Odyssey in the fastest way that you know how. You did it, gamer. Congratulations. Of course, though, we aren't finished yet. Moon Kingdom, just like basically every other kingdom in this game, has tons and tons of room for improvements. Unfortunately, due to the nature of Moon Kingdom, these clips are going to be laid out similar to a couple of our previous tutorials, where it's more or less just giant segments with a few improvements along the way. There isn't a lot of easy ways for us to segment this out because of, well, the fact that it's Moon Kingdom. But let's just dive right in. First thing you're going to notice right off the bat is the much better vectoring at the beginning, allowing us to get much further onto the platform, cutting out a cap dive and allowing us to just begin roll boosting way earlier, which means we get a nice little head start in the kingdom. Then we're going to be roll boosting past the moon snakes and roll boosting up on top of the next ledge without needing to long jump. This just requires some nice precise timing. It's nothing too difficult, just getting a bit used to roll boosting at specific times instead of just spam shaking. Then once you make your way around and do moon skip, what you'll notice is instead of backflipping, we're actually going to maintain our momentum and continue to run alongside the little platform and then jump up in the air and then cap dive and dive onto the bridge. This of course is a more direct line and saves us a little bit of time along the way. Next up, we have the Bowser fight, a slightly improved beginning section, including a spin throw, which saves like a tiny fraction of a second. But of course, what we're actually after here is the faster Bowser cycles, which is basically exactly the same as we went through in Cloud Kingdom. So I'm not going to go too in depth here. But of course, we're doing fast hats instead of doing beginner strats. And that ends up saving us about 7.5 seconds.
Then last up, we have the entire escape sequence. We're taking a slightly more direct line. Instead of moving out of the way of the falling rocks, it allows us to get a slight head start heading into the 2D section. Then in the 2D section, we're doing something known as 2D skip. So it's probably the most terrifying looking thing to do near the end of your Super Mario Odyssey speedrun, in a spot where dying will lose you 40 seconds and failing this trick will almost always kill you. But what we want to do here is make sure we are sprinting as Bowser by holding either Y or X. And then after you break the box, you're going to run over the edge and then jump out from the box without breaking the one above your head, then making your way on top of that block, and then jump out towards the right, and then in midair, begin holding left so Bowser curves back towards the platform above your head, and then making up top. This strat alone saves a bit over 2 seconds. Then during the final escape sequence, once you get a bit more comfortable, you can shoot all 5 fireballs required at the first pillar at the front right to break it before moving on to the second pillar, and then just following along with the same mindset as before, where we want to be shooting as many fireballs as we possibly can to break the pillars as early as possible before making our way to the center and finishing this heckin' speedrun. But anyway, that's it for me, gamers. Thank you so much for watching, whether it be just this video or the series as a whole. Tyron and I really appreciate it. We hope you guys have learned a thing or two along the way, as at the end of the day, that is, of course, what we hope to achieve from the beginning. If you haven't yet, please check out Tyron's socials that are linked down in the description. He put a lot of work into this. We both did, and he deserves it. Thank you guys so much for watching.